Happy New Year!
Happy New Year.
Here.
Okay, fail.
I feel like it's a little awkward to do that.
Happy New Year.
I think I messed that one up.
Are we doing like a long Happy New Year or a short Happy New Year? What is diet culture and how is it harmful? Diet culture is a culture that equates morality with certain foods and body shapes and sizes.
The only thing I would add is I would say diet culture can be harmful because it values a body type and expectations above other determinants of health. It can be really tempting to engage in some harmful diets and harmful behaviors that may not serve other qualities of your life as well, or other aspects of your life.
And I think it reinforces this feeling that we're not enough as we are. And it's a lot of like extreme. So needing to kind of better yourself or change yourself, but kind of in relation to how your body looks or how you're eating. And it breeds a lot of comparison.
I think that's part of why it's harmful. Like, there's no winning. You will never live up to the standard that it has set. And it just really does like pull away so much time and energy from things that really align with our values.
Especially because diets are kind of designed to be unsuccessful. Like I always say, if you like failed at a diet, you succeeded.
What are some red flags or signs that a program, trend, or diet is BS or just trying to sell you something? I think if it sounds too good to be true, it usually is. And typically, these diets and things or influencers, they have a supplement or something they're trying to sell you that's going to solve all your problems. So that's kind of a big red flag.
One that I see a lot is if the diet is ever trying to eliminate certain groups or categories from your diet. There's a reason why we have grains and proteins, fruits and veggies, and fats, and all these categories is because our body needs them to survive. So we're focusing on diets that eliminate things that our body needs to survive and function at its best. It's not going to be sustainable, and it's just not going to work for us. And inevitably fail.
And I think a big thing that we do on our team is try to help people tap into and tune into like their inner cues, like, their hunger cues. What are they craving? How are they feeling that day? And a lot of diets kind of ask you or encourage you to tune out of your inner cues and instead focus on these external rules. Like intermittent fasting is a big one that comes to mind. You can only eat, based on certain hour or in a certain time window. And that's, kind of inherently asking you not to pay attention to your own hunger cues. Or if you do notice your hunger cues, ignore them and, don't honor them, it kind of goes against everything that we try to help people with.
Sorry, Shannon.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was saying, I think it's a red flag whenever a diet or product or service is acting very exclusive, as in you only have to buy their product or you have to join their membership to get some kind of information that most other people don't have access to.
Yeah, I agree. And I like something that Emily said too about the sustainability piece. A lot of these diet trends and things, they're not set up for you to succeed because they're not sustainable. And kind of just being able to recognize that, like cutting out a whole food group is not exactly sustainable for the rest of your life. So definitely a red flag.
Another red flag I'm thinking of is anything that says or promises quick results, or that this is going to be the last thing you ever have to try. Usually those are clickbait just so that you buy, whatever the product is.
Yeah, to piggyback off of Shannon, I think if it's saying like you have to do exactly this, like you have to eat for breakfast, this is what you're eating. For lunch, this is what you're eating. For snack, this is what you're having. And for dinner, this is what you're having. that's like, not flexible at all. And so it's, not sustainable because of that. Because what if you're traveling? What if you're at a restaurant and they don't have that? Or like, what if that's just not something that you can access in your everyday life? It doesn't allow for any sort of flexibility, travel, variety.
Yeah, and in addition to that, something that I think about a lot is that we are also individualized, that even if we did all eat the exact same thing for breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, whatever it may be, we're still all gonna look completely different and live in completely different bodies because we're all individualized and different. So I think it's really hard sell with a diet that we're all gonna look or lose this X amount of weight. If we follow this exact meal plan or portions or whatever it may be. It's just, not realistic results that probably aren't gonna happen.
What are some trends that you would like to see go away in 2024?
Mainly the idea of diet culture kind of hiding under the guise of like wellness culture, where everyone's focusing on their health, but really it's only if they're a certain size or look healthy or have this very specific archetype of what is healthy.
That's a great one, Caitlin. One I'd like to see go away are the what I eat in a day videos on TikTok and Instagram Reels. I think they just promote so much comparison when, like Emily said, there's no one way that people should eat. And even if we did eat the exact same as that influencer, we wouldn't look like them because their body is so different.
My biggest issue with those what I eat in a day videos too is that, because some people try to say like, oh, well, people keep asking me like what I eat. They want meal ideas. They want snack ideas. They almost always, if you look at them, start with like a mirror selfie of them, of their whole body to be like, what I eat in a day. And then it's like clearly like the subtext is to look like me, And like you guys just said, we just will not all look the same, which is great. So yeah, that one bothers me a lot. And then another one is just like fear mongering. And I guess we can say not just about diet culture, but like in general, I think there's so much fear mongering. And while social media can be very helpful for like spreading information and communicating with larger groups of people, there's also just so much fear mongering that goes on that is really, really harmful and more harmful than helpful in terms of spreading information. So, no one food in one dose is going to kill you. And it might be harmful for one person and not for another person. So, a lot of the times the people who are fear mongering also like have no credentials to even be communicating that type of information.
Yeah, I agree with you, Danielle. The fear mongering really, I would like to see go away because it's just not helpful. And as you said, like a lot of times it's tearing apart like one ingredient or an entire food group, or I feel like a lot of times it's like nitpicking ingredients that, yes, for one person might make sense, but for, the vast majority of us is perfectly fine and normal to eat. And it also doesn't take into account like accessibility, because not everyone, can afford certain foods. So there's lots of layers to it, but I really grinds my gears when I hear these influencers who, like you said, don't have any sort of like credentials or background, and they're just spouting information that's not evidence-based a lot of times.
And a lot of the times the people who are hearing it are really, really susceptible and vulnerable to believing things, like whether they're suffering from like a health condition or already have low self-worth and low self-esteem, and then they're hearing you're doing this thing so wrong, just do this. And they're desperate for help, they're desperate to feel better, so they listen to it. Plus these people who are saying it usually like are very convincing. I mean, sometimes I'll even go down a rabbit hole on social media, or like I'm just scrolling and I find myself kind of subconsciously starting to like believe or question what they're saying. And I have to remind myself, like even as much information and education as we have, these people are really convincing, which makes it even scarier.
Danielle, to piggyback on what you're saying about like that vulnerability, exactly. Like we have our insecurities, we have our weaknesses just as human beings. And when something speaks to that, there feels like there's a connection there. Like, oh, like that would apply to me. Or how did you know this is exactly what I was looking for? And so that vulnerability makes us believe these things without question, without considering like, oh, this was a 15-second TikTok video or something, and there's no way that this person could really be giving me all the useful and beneficial information that I need to make a thorough decision for myself. So just trying it out and seeing how it goes, and then they see a result that they want to see based on that vulnerability, and that's where I think the waters can get really muddy.
Instead of going on a diet this year, what else can you focus on?
I think it can be helpful to think deeper about what is underneath that urge to start a new diet. What is there in terms of, are you maybe seeking connection or meaning in other ways, and maybe taking a more critical look just at your life and relationships in general about, are there other components that really could be adding that kind of, what is the emotional need underneath there?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, go to therapy, you know, like find out what else is going on. I think everyone can benefit from that. Also finding a hobby. I think like I feel like as the years have gone on and social media has gotten so much more prevalent, like we don't have as many hobbies. I know we were all just talking about reading before this, but like, you know, get into books, go like take up a new sport or something like that. I think that can fill a void that that a lot of us have. And then from a nutritional standpoint, I always like to say, count colors, not calories. So like I think everyone can also benefit from eating more fruits and vegetables, diversifying their plate a little bit. Um, and you know, like I think so much of the New Year diets and just diets in general focus on restriction and elimination and what you shouldn't be eating and what you can't have. And not only does that leave us feeling deprived, but it also usually makes our diet, you know, less nutrient dense. Like I always think less is not more. Less usually means less satisfaction, less nutrients. Um, and so, you know, the more sometimes like if we're eating larger amounts, it also means that we're getting in more nutrients, more variety that our, you know, gut microbiome really likes, and our digestive system can probably work better. We're probably feeling fuller and like less distracted by hunger and, you know, feeling deprived. So focus on what you can include instead of what you can't have.
Yeah, I think that that's, you know, a really good point, Danielle, and kind of the overarching thing of a lot of discussions that I've had with most of my clients going into the new year is, you know, what is going to be realistic and sustainable for us, that we are finding like joy, and we're finding satisfaction, we're finding fullness, we're finding energy. Like when we have all of these categories together combined, that really equals success and longevity and just overall like better quality of life. So what can we add to what we're already doing to provide us with more energy, with more variety, with better results?
And on the context of like New Year's resolutions itself, I often, for those who do like to use as a time for reflection, think of it as, are there any intentions that one might have for the year, or things that you might benefit from, or things that would make things go extra smoothly or easily, even when life gets bumpy, rather than seeking any of those more diet-centric kind of goals, things that all still help our health in the long run, but in that more sustainable kind of way.
Any other tips for our awesome clients on how to disengage from diet culture or set other kinds of New Year's resolutions this year?
One of my favorite tips is to actually use your mute button on TikTok and Instagram and be able to kind of change the algorithm if you're seeing things that aren't serving you well.
I saw a quote, and I don't know where it was now, but it basically, in the context of New Year's resolutions, it was saying before telling yourself everything that you have to do better, thanking yourself for everything that you've done to get through the year. Because I think above all, we really just need to be more compassionate to ourselves and kind to ourselves. It can be really challenging, but so important.
And on Lindsay's note of the mute button on social media, I would say like have that in real life too. I always say like, have your blinders on or like have almost like a force field that because you can't really stay away from the comments. Like we can't control our lives enough to not hear them. They're everywhere. And sometimes from people that we're very close to. But if you can kind of like imagine a shield and like the comments are coming towards you and then like bounce off. Because only you know what you need and what's working for you. And just because your best friend thinks it's important, or your mom is telling you to do it, or your favorite influencer is doing it, it doesn't mean that it's right for you or that it would be beneficial for you. Especially for a lot of our clients who are working so hard to get past that.